And welcome to episode 3 of Indie Game Lab Studio. And you'll see today we're in different seats. I'm here with Garth Avery, who is the maker of Primordial Secrets, a game that's available in TTS for you to play. And today we're going to watch a 4-man version of it. So, Garth, why don't you quickly give us an idea of how Primordial Secrets plays and what makes it unique as a deck builder?
Yes. So the thing that's sort of the hook here with Primordial Secrets is that it's got a huge emphasis on player interaction. I'm gonna just switch to the other screen. So I'll explain what's going on here, but it looks like they're taking their first turn, or rather, they're setting everything up. So you, as the viewer, can actually see where everyone's placing everything, but they cannot see what their opponents are putting in their visiting and hosting parties. So
They can see neither of the two rows.
right, they can't. They can see their own only, and then there's this hide unhide button. So what they're doing right here is kind of the fun part of the game, in my opinion. Is there's basically two parts of every turn or round. The first part is what we're seeing now, which is they're putting out three of their cards as visitors and 3 as hosts. And then they're also deciding which opponent to visit on their turn. And then
how would we tell it? Can we see how somebody determines who they're going to visit, and maybe a visiting card and a hosting card, so we have a basis of play?
Yeah, so here we're looking at who's this, Nerd? I think this is Nerd's board here. So he's put a gala out. Sorry, I'm pinging into their game. They're like, why is he pinging? So this is pointing across the table. So it means that Nerd will be visiting Jeff during his visit. So I
believe it's Axum or something.
Yeah. And, Jeff is visiting to the left.
So Ice, if I understand that correctly, then Ice is going to be visiting Nerd.
Yep.
And
Yep.
Drac, who covered up his own name, is going to be visiting Ice.
Yep. So there's a lot of different people visiting. Okay, they're already starting to resolve things. The advisor is getting to thin their deck. So they've done this whole thing where they've set up. You know what? I have a little. Do I have? Yeah, I do. Nope, that's the wrong one. I have a little cheat sheet here that I've just have not pulled up on screen. Now I have. So basically, everyone draws 6 cards, secretly sets 3 as hosts and 3 as visitors. And then what they're doing now is going around resolving those visits, which is where you compare the visitor's total insight, which is this blue number. Now my dog's bothering me. Perfect. This blue number here, which is the pointing finger. So you add up your visitor's total insight and compare it to whoever your visiting's host's total deceit, which is this purple number. And then from there, 2 different things can happen. If the insight is higher than the deceit by a lot, you get to steal a secret from the hosting player, and that's one way to win the game if you collect 6 secrets. The other thing that can happen is they could have higher deceit than your insight. And if that happens, you have to sacrifice one of your visitors. And if you've collected 6 sacrifices, that's the other way to win the game. So
if we have a tie?
In a tie, nothing happens. So if there's a tie, or if the visitor has slightly more insight than the host deceit, nothing happens. So the 2 victory conditions of stealing secrets or collecting sacrifices only happen when someone kind of wins big or loses big. And there's this sort of so one part of the game is there's this fine line, right, of you want to just barely get away with something, or just barely get something, right? So it's a trick of kind of knowing about how much power your opponent is going to have on their turn, and visiting with just enough to get them.
Like a NIMP 6 kind of game.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're trying to play the lowest possible card to win.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, you don't want it. So, and the winner is usually the one that's won the most rounds just barely, right? The blowout rounds, it's like, yeah, you're closer to victory, but you've sacrificed you've put too much effort there.
We're stealing something from classic card games with the idea of almost like a trump, and then trying to use your least powerful trump.
Yes, exactly. And then so those first 2 things I've described, the secret placement and this stat comparison, people, you said it was a deck builder, and people are like, what? That doesn't sound like a deck builder. So that's where the third part of the game comes in. So after you visited an opponent, that's when you get to spend your visitor's devotion, which is this pink number up here, to recruit cards from the center row. And
That's what you're going to use to build your deck?
Yep, and then so these cards go into your discard pile, which eventually becomes your deck, and your deck gets better and better every time you draw 6 new cards every round. So I'm going to hide this little cheat sheet.
Oh, it's Jeff's first card to his deck potential.
Oh yeah, so we just wrapped up round 1, and everyone has bought their first pawn. And Nerd has rudely passed the first visitor token over to who's over here again? Oh, Drakau.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone has one.
So again, 6 cards.
Yep. So again, you draw 6 and
three.
6, 3, and 3. Set who you're visiting. The other twist here is that you can't use the same intent twice until you reset intents, which I'll get to in a sec. But so, for instance, Nerd has already visited Jeff, so now he has to visit one of the other 2 people, unless, there's ways around that. But it's basically so you have to spread the love to visit multiple different people.
You have an intent discard as well? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I forgot to reveal the computer. All right, so now everyone's seeing the screen. Sorry, I had the thing still up. Trying to talk and move the things around. All right, so here's the thing. They're setting up for round 2. And just to reiterate what I was trying. Yeah, they've got 6. They're moving things around, setting up visitors and hosts.
And then let's look at this as color wise. What are the colors on the cards telling us? Why is there green? What does green mean? What does red mean? I guess that's a purple.
Yeah, great question. So there's 2 different kind of color schemes that tell you a little bit about the cards. So the outside border, this musician, for instance, being a white outside border, and these messengers white outside border, that means it's a starter card. It means it's super basic, lame pawn, and those are the cards that everyone starts with. These blue outside bordered cards are like court pawns. They are like your first step, the first things you can start buying once the game goes, and they're going to improve your deck. And then the ultimate cards are these black bordered cards here. They are royals. You can see royal under the name. They require a lot of tribute in order to recruit them, and in addition to that, they require some amount of sacrifices. That number in the white bottom left corner there. So you need a lot of devotion, you need to have gotten some sacrifices, and then you can add these royals to your deck. And these royals will just end the game. They're like the goal, right? You want to try to get to a royal, get to a couple royals first, and then if you start visiting with them, like Lugain, for instance, is just going to collect a sacrifice for you every time you visit. Unstoppable, countdown, basically. Because remember, if you get 6 sacrifices, you win the game. So Lugain is going to end it quickly. And they're all like that. They're all super powerful. So that's what the outside border is. But then, yes, each of them has a color inside, like the background of the art. And that indicates what of the 4 tribes they are. So a good example of this is, and some of the tribes work well together. A good example is what Drakau just bought. He bought this aeronaut. And when she visits, she adds 1 insight to each of his abyssal visitors. And abyssals are all the teal background. So the aeronaut is going to work well with the messengers, which you start with. But any of these cards in the middle here that have the teal background, Drakau is going to start wanting to look at more closely because they work really well with his aeronaut. There's 3 other tribes. The abyssals tend to be the ones that have more like internal synergies, like this Deep Warden, for instance, adds 1 to the deceit of each of your abyssal hosts. So it's going to be strong when you pair that in your hosting party with a bunch of the teal cards. The Celestials are these purple cards, and they tend to work well with mortals. Like this Puppeteer will add a bunch of stats to a mortal and then throw it away at the end of the turn because the mortal has been all used up. And here's Immortal. This is the gray background. Last but not least, these red background cards are Infernals, and they tend to just be strong on their own, essentially. They tend to ruin other people's days with like big swingy effects, or you just don't want to see these on the other side of the table when you're visiting someone, basically, because they'll mess up your turn.
Is the goal to make a deck of all the same color, or is it better to have a deck that you're drawing from with a combination of colors?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways to win. There's
tribes, I should say.
Yeah, so yeah, the technical term is tribes. So yeah, there's a bunch of different archetypes that you can kind of go for, right? You can try to do the abyssal thing, like, oh my gosh, yes. So they've drawn their 6 new cards, and I'm just going to pop over here. This is a good example of a synergy deck. So he's got the Aeronaut, which is pumping up each abyssal visitor, and he's got this Slipstream, which is an abyssal, and after hosting, it becomes like a 4th visitor on your next round. So combine that with the Aeronaut that's pumping up all the abyssals, and you can get some extra value. So Drakau is doing one thing where he's going for a specific like synergy strategy. But that's one way to play. But what I like to do is either go just all good stuff. There's a lot of cards in the game that are just like good value without having to rely on synergy. Like Vintner, for instance. It only costs 3, and it's just, those numbers are really good for being so cheap. You can get a lot of cards like that and just kind of brute force your way to a victory without having to do synergies.
So as you're learning, you could use synergies, because obviously that's a quick way of putting together a deck that's that will work together. Yeah. And as you learn the game and become more familiar, you'll find which cards are standalones, or even not in any way working with anything else, but strong enough to stand on its own.
Yeah, exactly. I just moved that. Okay, good. We still have the Discord overlay on TTS is visible on stream.
And as composed right now, what are the contents of the game? How many of each card are we seeing in the box? Right.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. What was the question, Joe? Sorry, I was looking at a.
It said as it's currently composed here, and we know this isn't ready for publishing. How many cards of each are in the box? What are our components list here?
Yeah. Good question. So the starter decks are 12 of these white bordered cards. For enough for 4 people to play, so that's 48. You've got 30 different blue bordered pawns and 3 copies each in this pawn deck, so that's 90 more cards there. You've got 25 unique royals, and then of course you've got all these intents and secret intents that are also in the box, which adds up to 76 intents. So I don't know what the math is on that. 76 plus 48 plus 90 plus 25.
Yeah, so we're somewhere between 200 and 250 cards, I'm guessing. And what was it, 4 or 5 decks? I didn't.
So four starting decks. Yep. So the starting decks are only 12 cards each. So that's yeah.
And as far as would it include a playmat or a board, or can you just play this on the table?
So the thing is, you can play this on the table, but we're including playmats in the box because they really do help new players like learn the game. Like, look at all these different stacks of things: deck, intent deck, discard, regular discard, visiting party, hosting party, sacrifices, secrets. And when I play, I just play it on the table. But having a player mat with all of these different zones on it really helps learn the game quick. And some people just prefer to play with it on the mat. Another benefit of the mat is that it's going to be easy. In the physical form, you're doing a lot of flipping and unflipping, right? Because you're putting the things face down when you're secretly setting them. But then when everything gets revealed, you have to flip them all face up. And the player mats make it easy to flip the cards face up because of their surface. So that's another benefit.
We have a reference card. Do we want to bring that up so we can see the reference of...
Oh, yeah.
Players can see right what's around the table.
Yeah, so there's also a player aid card here. This is actually an outdated one. I have the updated one in the game itself, in the stream itself. So I'm going to put that on screen. So here's the glossary card. It's very similar to what they're using, but perhaps a little bit more detailed. So these are all the different actions that could happen on a Primordial card. There's, add, double, and set. That's just changing their values. Banish is a great thing. If you've played deck builders, you know how powerful thinning your deck can be. So there's a lot of cards that will let you banish cards from your own deck so that your starting cards are removed from your deck and you're more likely to draw the more powerful pawns and royals that you've recruited. Captivate and silence are ways to harm your opponent's plays. Recruit is when you gain cards to your deck. Yeah, so I'll hide that again. But that's sort of one of the cards that's going to come with the game, and then it's also got a little cheat sheet on the back of turn order.
As far as turn order, are we choosing the player goes first rotationally, or is it by some other measure? And
yeah, so visits are always part of the game is So the round is broken up into two parts, right? The first part is the plotting phase, and this happens, the great part about the game is there's less downtime because the plotting phase happens simultaneously. So everyone is doing all of their deciding of where they're going to put their visitor, which cards they're going to put as visitors, which parts they're going to do as hosts, who they're going to visit. All of this scheming happens simultaneously, so turn order doesn't matter. But then once we resolve visits, the second part of the round, then it's just a clockwise order, starting with whoever has the first visitor token. And that just determines who resolves their visits first, which matters essentially only for the recruiting part of the visit at the end. So whoever has that first visitor token is going to get first crack at those cards in the middle to add to their deck.
And as far as the intent cards, there's a white background black circle and a black background white circle. What's our differences there?
Yes, so just like the white bordered pawns are the starting primordials that you start with, the white bordered intents are the ones that you start with. And one of the things you can do during the course of the game is visit with such high insight that you get to steal a secret from whoever you're visiting. And that's where these black bordered intents come in. So you can see that Nerd has already stolen a secret from someone that he's visited. So now he has access to this new and improved, more powerful intent, Masquerade. So that's just visiting ice, but with a +1 deceit. So that's just extra value. Oh, thank you for keeping it out of my way, Nerd. Can you hear me somehow? You better not be listening in. I'm about to start talking about people's hands.
No wonder Nerd's winning.
So yeah, Nerd is let's talk about the game again. So I think I've sort of given you a little bit of an overview of the game.
Starting a hand again. So right now, who has the player token? It looks like Jeff.
Yep. So Jeff is going to
be playing first, right?
Yep. He's going to be playing first. He's done something completely preposterous. Okay, he's changing his mind. He had the worm in the visiting party, and this worm has 3 deceit and no insight or devotion. So it makes it a very strong host. Don't ask me why worms make good hosts, but they do. And it makes it a worthless visitor. So he doesn't really have a choice with this one. It's not a versatile card. He just puts it in his hosting party, and boom, he has 3 deceit, which is it's good value.
If Jeff has to make his first move, he's going to make it. He's going to visit who we look at. We're looking like visiting Nerd.
Oh, he's played the festival card. This means I'm not visiting anybody. My visitors are so weak, I don't even want to visit anyone and risk losing one of them as a sacrifice. He's only going to have 3 devotion here. He doesn't want to bother buying a 3-cost card at this point in the game. So he's just put all of his strength into his hosting party, and he's hoping for people to visit him. Because if anyone chooses...
He's going to get a visitor, it looks like.
Oh, yes. No. So he's going to sadly, he's not going to collect a sacrifice from Nerd because he's got some strong visitors. But he could have. He's getting... Oh, I guess, the other thing is this is round 3 or 4. 4. So... No, 3. So he knows that he's getting a bunch of... He knows that people hadn't been visited him on the first 2 rounds, so he knew he was going to get some visitors this round. So that's why he's kind of tried to focus. Well, he also didn't really have a choice. The 6 cards he drew were pretty much this or have a bad turn. Everyone's still working with some starter cards here. Ooh, a sacrifice has been made. So during Ice just resolved his visit, and he was visiting across the table at Drakau. and he was trying to get away with a 0 insight visit. So
A worm-like visit, are we saying?
yeah, basically. Dracau punished him for that. He has a sacrifice. Some point during the game, oh my gosh, there's sacrifices everywhere. Everyone has at least one sacrifice. Man, I've been talking too long. So everyone has at least one on hosting at least once. So that's exciting. Having a sacrifice, I mean, it's the way to win, right? It's getting 6 sacrifices. But the other thing having a sacrifice does is it lets you start looking at this row of royals here in the middle. There's a few royals that only require you to have 1 sacrifice, such as Tengoth, Ulendroth, or Diva, the Preacher. So those people with sacrifices, which is all of our players right now, kind of the race is on to get a visiting party with 9 or 10 devotion amongst their visitors, and they can be the first to get the royal. And the first player to get a royal is going to have a big advantage until everyone else can catch up. So,
since I'm getting here and sitting with the designer, and let's say you had your choice of any of the one-cost royals, which one would you go for?
It depends on what deck I've already started building. So, let's see, who's a good example? So, Dracau is a good example. He's focused on the abyssal synergy stuff. So, if I was Dracau and I managed to get 9 or 10 devotion, I would look at one of these 2 one-cost abyssals in the center. Tengoth will let me thin my deck a lot, getting rid of all the non-abyssals in my deck and being an abyssal himself. It's just going to be, your deck is going to be so tight and like streamlined, and you can just basically draw all your best cards every turn, and it's going to be strong. Ulendroth,
I'm assuming that would also probably work for Jeff?
Yes. So Jeff, I've seen him do a couple different things. He's got some mortals going on. I think he has a sculptor. So I think what I've seen is Ice and Jeff are kind of competing over the same strategy of doing some combination of puppeteers, sculptors, and mortals. It's like kind of a mortal synergy. I think they're both sort of fighting over that a little bit. But yes, basically both of them, since they've got some sort of synergy going on in their deck, they would also really much like to thin their deck, and so it becomes more streamlined and they're more likely to draw their combos. If I was
get a better look at Ice's and Nerd's decks here in a second.
Yeah, we'll see if they draw. I know Ice has at least 1 or 2 mortal synergies. Plus, he's been pulling these familiars, and the familiar is immortal. I think Nerd is the only one in this particular game that if I was him, I would be looking at Diva as my first purchase instead of the Abyssals. Because Nerd is kind of, I think, trying to go big. Basically, it looks like he's got a lot of cards that are sort of ramping him, being just kind of a good stuff deck. So if he can get Diva lets him start getting more and more royals for cheaper. Diva's whole thing is you get her first, and then you can start getting, just filling your deck with royals.
And she subtracts 2 from the sacrifices needed, which means you can get
so with the
royals quickly.
Yeah, so if he only has Diva and this 1 sacrifice, he can start recruiting things that would cost 3 sacrifices. So that, okay, he can't get Lathrus, but he could get like anything else. Oh, actually, there's a lot of things that cost 4 out there. This is a bad flip for this game. I think there's only 4 cards. No, there's only 3 cards in the entire royal deck that cost 4 sacrifices, and they happen to flip. They're all on the board. So Diva, actually, now that I'm seeing that, I think all the players would probably want to try to get Diva. She's like the only way you're going to be able to get those big, strong guys.
They all have the sacrifice to... Well, hold on. They all have the... Well, did we lose a sacrifice here? No sacrifice here. I'm trying to read upside down.
Sacrifice.
Everybody's got one?
Everyone's got one.
It's just a matter of... It's whoever gets the 9.
Yep. So the magic number is trying to get enough visitors in your visiting party to get 9 devotion.
Who's the closest right now? Can we take a look?
Ice is going to get it first. He's got the Puppeteer, which combos with Mortals. It's got a drawback in that you have to lose that Mortal forever once you combine this Puppeteer with a Mortal. But that turn, it's just super strong. So he combines this puppeteer with this familiar to give the familiar +3 devotion. He's got 5 devotion there, 6, 7 devotion, 8, 9, 10 devotion on this turn.
He could take a one value 1 royal. I don't know what the correct way to say this. So a 1 sacrifice royal.
Yep, he could take any of those 3 1 sacrifice royals. But Ice is a purist player, and if he's going for a strategy, and he's got this puppeteer that combines with mortals, and he's got this sculptor that is combined with mortals. He might just refuse to buy a royal that is not a mortal because he's trying to do the mortal thing. He's such a purist. He might just be like, nope, I'm not going to do it. I could buy a royal, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to continue focusing on my weird.
Him to one of his opponents buying Diva.
Yeah.
Be a problem to deal with later on.
I know, yes. I would basically hate draft with the fact that there's only 3 royals that anyone can even start to look at, and there's 3 royals that are just going to clog up the board the whole game, almost. Getting those royals and denying your opponent the chance to get them, I think is strong. I think knowing Ice as a player, though, I think he might just... He's doing his thing right now. I think he's crazy to not buy a royal, but I also think he won't do it. Let's see. He's doing his visit. So he's visiting Nerd. So they're doing the thing where Ice has declared that he's adding 3 to the familiar's devotion, and now it's up to Nerd to do his effects. His effect will be... Oh, he already did his effect of... The Herald brought this traveling bard to the party. They're comparing their insight to deceit. Nerd has a total of 2, 3, still 3, 4. So Nerd has a total of 4 deceit. And Ice has a total of 1, 2, only 3 insight. So he's going to have to lose a sacrifice. And so Nerd will have an extra sacrifice. And they're just discussing the fact that Ice is going to have to lose a sacrifice. And Ice can't change... Oh, he's doing it. What a crazy mofo. So Ice has decided, despite being able to afford a royal, he decided instead of giving the familiar... So the puppeteer can give a mortal devotion, insight, or deceit. So if he had given his familiar devotion, he would have lost a sacrifice, no big deal, and gotten a sweet royal. Instead, he wants to keep his deck focused, razor sharp focused on doing the mortal thing. So he gave the familiar insight instead, so as to not lose a sacrifice to Nerd, and then just bought some random mortals. He's going to just fill his deck with these familiars. And the game is deeply flawed if Ice wins with this strategy, and we'll see what happens.
Alright, so Nerd just bought, it looks like.
Okay, Nerd got a Seamstress. Yeah, so Nerd is doing the good stuff deck, basically. He's just buying not synergy cards, just strong on their own cards. No one can really disrupt what he's doing. He's just got a bunch of cards that are just strong on their own. He's the only one doing that. Everyone else is kind of trying to do a synergy thing. So it's powerful being the one guy on the table that can just... He sees a good card, he's like, I'm going to go for it. It doesn't matter. It's not going to water down my deck. I'm just trying to get the good cards. So Seamstress, speaking of good cards, just a really good... It's not a good host, no deceit, but 3 devotion and 3 insight will get you a really good visitor.
What's the key to balancing out your hosts and your hosting party and your visiting party? What are our strategies when we get ready to do that? We're looking at our initial 6 cards.
Yeah, so there's a couple ways you can go. You can basically build a deck full of very versatile cards. There's a lot of cards in this deck that are just strong visitors or strong hosts. The Angler being a good example. This guy got 3 deceit as if you host with him. He's got some good numbers if you visit with him. So he's just good all around. and you can just fill your deck with cards like that. Or you can try to basically fill half your deck with cards that are strong hosts, like this Witness, and half your deck with cards that are strong visitors, like all the cards that they've all drafted so far. And if you do that, then you just have to, you're going to win if you draw the right combination of basically 3 good hosts and 3 good visitors, because the value is higher with those non-versatile cards. But then there's also these cards that will punish players for trying to build a non-versatile, like pretty focused deck. Like this Joker, for instance. It's not very good against versatile cards. It's swapping insight and deceit around. But against Jeff, for instance, who has a lot of hosts that have no insight and they're just all in on deceit, if someone plays this Joker against him, it's going to just basically reduce his party to like nothing. So there's a lot of different ways you can go. I mean, and also saying that too, there's another thing I like to do when I'm playing is you can focus on 2 different strategies. You can pick out 2 different synergies if you want, right? Like, for instance, Drakao has a lot of abyssal synergy that only really synergizes when he's visiting. So he could go with a lot of strong abyssal visitors, but do a whole different strategy in his hosting party if he wanted to. Like, so he could draft all the good abyssal visitors and draft all of the maybe some strong infernal hosts or something, and try to go that direction.
And how do you, as a player, and we're seeing a 4-player game here, so what information can I use that I know about my opponent to affect my strategy?
Yes, so it's very important. So it's very important to pay attention to what your opponents are doing, because you're deciding who to visit every turn, and there are going to be players that you know are focusing more on deceit and players that are focusing more on insight. And you have to visit until you have stolen a few secrets to avoid certain players. You're going to have to visit each player at least once per cycle. So you know, for instance, Ice is going to have high deceit. You know, Jeff is going to have high deceit. So you'll want to basically time your visits to them with the turns that you have either really high insight so you can make it through their defenses, or at this stage in the game, maybe you want to visit them with like no insight, right? Just lose a sacrifice on purpose, because you know you're not going to be able to beat them, or you're going to have to waste too many resources beating them. At a certain point,
sometimes the wisest move is to sacrifice a sacrifice.
Yep, I think so. I mean, at this point in the game, right, losing a sacrifice brings your opponent closer to victory, but it does thin your deck, right? That whatever card you're choosing to sacrifice is out of your deck forever, so you're not going to have to draw that weak card anymore. And I think you have to sacrifice too much effort, too many resources to try to, always be winning all the time. Like, you have to pick your moments to purposely lose, or try the best you can to try to maximize your efforts in the right places.
Yeah, and I think we're getting back to the classic card games when you run out of a suit, it's your opportunity to dump junk, right?
Yep, exactly.
So, and then once your opponent realizes you start to dump junk, they adjust their strategy, knowing that you do it. Right? So whatever plan they had going in, as soon as they see you start dumping junk,
Yep.
they have to change strategy, or they're going to let you continue to dump junk, which normally doesn't work to their advantage.
Yeah.
So, again, we're seeing, even though we have an ultra modern builder here, which would be something that didn't exist, 25 years ago. I didn't have any deck builders, really.
Yeah, Dominion is the first, or there's argument to be made that there's this one Japanese game that was a deck builder before Dominion, but that was like 12 years ago, 13 years ago. Is that right?
Right. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not going to sit here.
Yeah.
I don't want to say in live stream exactly the year of Dominion.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like I said, as of, we can probably fairly say 20 years ago, there were no deck builders.
Right. Yep.
You can even see a new modern category of board gaming still borrowing from the past.
Yeah, totally.
It's been twisted. It's been put in a different kind of form, but you can see the echoes of a bridge or any of the classic trump taking kind of games.
Totally. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think all games basically. Dominion is a good example, right? Like Dominion now, I don't want to talk smack. Dominion is like one of my favorite games of all time, but like it's a little bit outmoded now. By it was the shoulders, right? It was the giant on which the shoulders of all these new iterations of deck builders basically stand. And it was amazing. It was groundbreaking at the time, but like now it's like I don't know, a little straightforward, a little simple. Which is good too. I mean, I still play Dominion every now and then. I'm just saying.
Without taking the focus off Primordial Secrets, last week we did another game with Gregory Sue with
Oh
Engineered
yeah,
Arts,
yep,
and another deck builder in the Dominion vein.
yeah. He was trying to
Clearly, a
kind of go back
completely
to,
different game than
yeah,
from what we're
yeah,
seeing today.
yeah, yeah. So this is this is. I mean, the whole impetus of designing this game was how can we make the most interactive deck builder possible. So every round you're going to have to compare with your opponent. So that's one thing. You've got to be watching out what combos your opponent's doing. The winner of this game is probably going to be the one that has the best answers to what their opponents are doing, either in their visiting party or their hosting party, whichever way they decide to win. And also, it's a race where the game is either going to end from someone getting 6 secrets or from getting 6 sacrifices, right? And so you have to be paying attention to what strategies your opponents are going for and try to outrace them either on that axis or outrace them by, getting your victory condition quicker and denying them that 6th sacrifice or that 6th secret.
We're seeing upturned cards on the edge of the board here, the railing, if we would say that. What are we seeing there? Why do we have some turned up along the railing here? Uh,
Those are those are from 3-player games. I guess Nerd. This is
oh,
so they are not in the game. They are just Nerd
kind of
trying
some
to trying to
remnants
confuse us.
of
Yeah,
another
trying to
option.
confuse us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So in 2-player games or 3-player games, obviously we can't have fingers pointing left, right, and straight. That wouldn't make sense. So in 2 and 3-player games, you've got different starting intents and different secret intents that you can work with. Like in a 2-player game, it's all going to be either crooked fingers, drinking glasses, or pointing fingers, pointing straight across the table. Whereas in a 3-player game, there's nothing pointing straight across. It's either you're visiting to the right or to the left. Things like that.
And we're looking at the 4-player version, obviously. Do we have
Yeah.
a 5 or 6-player version?
No, I don't. So I think 3 and 4-player games. I think this game is very different at 2, 3, and 4 players. It really is. It plays a lot differently. In 2-player games, it's kind of like that, chess-like intellectual slugfest. In 3 and 4-player games, there's some swingy things that can happen, especially in a 4-player game. If all 3 people end up visiting Ice on a turn when he has a sculptor in his hosting party, for instance, like he's just going to win the game. There's some swingy things that can happen in a 4-player game. So in a 5 and a 6-player game, it would just get even more crazy, and we'd have to design more intense, and it would kind of make the game MSRP just skyrocket, because when you've got when you have to put starting intents for 5-player games and 6-player games in addition to the other intents that we've already got, you're starting to add, an extra, a bunch of cards. So, and I don't think 5 and 6. I haven't played a 5 and 6-player game, but I don't think they would be great. I wouldn't rule it out if like a publisher came to me tomorrow and is like, I need to make this a 5-player game. I'd be like, all right, we can try. But I think it's kind of good in the sweet spot of 2 to 4.
And is there a way to play teams? 1-2, or for example 3-on-3? Can you combine your resources in any way?
No, there isn't, but that's a really good idea. I think that'd be fun if you were on like a team with the person across from you, so you'd never visit them, but like you can.
Exactly. Again, borrowing from the classic 4-player Trump games, where you hope your partner has what
Yeah,
you think they have, and you're setting up your hand in thinking of that, and maybe you need some almost, I don't want to say bidding stage, but
yeah,
something that allows like that little bit of pre-turn communication, but I think that would
Yeah.
be an interesting twist for this because
Oh my God. So what would you?
it'd be really fun.
You could basically play a 4-player game with the 3-player intents, because none of the 3-player intents ever reference the person across from you. I wonder. I wonder if that would be fun or if that would be miserable. That'd be a fun thing to just try.
You could just make it play it as a 2-player game where you're really playing 2 on
Oh,
2,
sure. Yeah, you could do that too. Yep.
right? And then make a
Yeah.
certain rule with whether you can do your teammate or
That's
how often,
interesting.
right?
That's interesting. Definitely not in the rule book, but something that would definitely be like a fun either house rule or something for me to investigate, because that's
Because
that's
right now
that's
we're
interesting.
looking, we kind of got like a rummy setup where everybody's like playing for themselves,
Hmm.
and then like I said, with all the classic player card games, you'd have typically a partner.
Yeah.
And this looks like it sets up perfectly for partners.
Yeah, it would.
So,
Yeah.
it was something to look forward to in 2022. A
I
little
guess.
tinkering and
Yeah. Yeah.
variation to play with, because I don't think you would require anything else. It's not like you would need a different set or deck or anything. You just need to tweak the rules a little bit. But so what have we missed here while we went off into our little fantasy land?
I thought I
Uh,
saw someone gain another sacrifice, but the number isn't appearing above my mouse.
so
So
where is everybody at as far as sacrifices
yeah,
and
that's what I'm trying to.
victory conditions?
It's not letting me like look through. Hang on. Why is it not coming up?
Do the search or whatever it is. Or
Let me try turning F11 on. Okay, I have to turn F11 on for some reason. All right, so Ice has 3 sacrifices. Nerd has 2. Dracow has 2. Oh my gosh, everyone has 2 with Ice at 3. So this game is kind of well on its way. Meanwhile, Nerd has only got 4 sacrifice or secrets left that he's guarding. Dracow only has 4 that he's guarding, only 4, and Ice has all 6 secrets still. So that means that 6 secrets have been stolen this game. Let's see. I'm not 100% sure where they all are, but they're obviously not all with the same person. Otherwise, that person would have already won. 4, 3, 5, 6. Oh, okay. So 7. Oh no, he's got them all in the discard pile. Never mind. I think Jeff is the one with the most secrets. He's got 1 there, 5 there, 6. No. Also, Jeff has stolen a secret from someone that will let him skip his turn, and that exact same secret from someone else that will let him skip his turn. So Jeff is trying to just not play. Respect.
win by not playing.
Win by not playing. So he's trying to not visit anyone ever and just put all of his strength into his hosting party, which is a strategy that is very fun, except at one, like, it's going to be hard for him to get new cards for his deck at this point, right? Because like if he
Can't get a
focuses
sacrifice, right?
yeah, if he focuses too much on hosting, he's not going to have the strong visitors that will let him get the big expensive cards anymore. Oh my gosh, look at this turn from Nerd though. He's got a lot of people are drawing like a lot of starter cards still, which for this late in the game is bad for them. Meanwhile, Nerd had a god hand here of basically like 4 or 3 really strong visitors and a familiar, and some strong defense too on hosting. So I think Nerd is going to have a really good turn this time. He might get a
He's going for his Jeff's first this turn, yeah.
yeah
He doesn't go anywhere.
Yep, Jeff doesn't go anywhere, so we skip to Ice. Ice is so this is the
track.
this is Ice. Ice has his dream deck here, which is that it's just full of these pretty mediocre familiars, just 1/1/2. Like that's not very strong. And cards that work with them, like Puppeteer, which will buff one of them up for the turn. Remember, Ice is winning right now, and he's declined to buy a Royal. But I will say, he's sort of put himself in a corner, right? Like his deck is full. These cards are not strong. They're just 1/1/2s, right? They're strong for the mid game, which is kind of how he's gotten ahead. But at some point, someone's got to basically surpass him. If Ice just keeps getting these 1/1/2s, and Nerd starts buying these royals, which I think he's about to do, he should be able to take over the game.
It was Ice's strategy that we said if it prevails, the game's broken, right?
Yes, if Ice wins after declining to buy a royal, I need to buff the royals, I guess.
Well, you just need to ban Ice.
I just need to ban Ice, yeah. Ice is yeah. He always forces the mortal deck. So one thing he's got going for him is he knows how to pilot this deck really well. He just forces it every time. And Mortals has this mortal deck that he's got has a good win rate. It's got a good win rate. It's not. I don't think it's broken, but it's meant to be like strong in the early and mid game and to fall off. Right? The mortal deck only works.
It's on pace.
Yes, it's on pace, right? So it's built around these familiars, which are strong kind of tempo cards. But after you're shuffling a deck with just all familiars, and yep, here it goes. Okay, just buying familiars. Is he going to get
What's
anything
the
else?
best counter to this? If you see an opponent doing what Ice is doing, what is your best counter to it?
Oh, he's got a current shaper too. Okay, that's a little different. He's branching out a little. What's the counter to this? Just go bigger, I think. So you just want to... Oops, they went in the wrong pile. You just want to sort of survive until your big cards start being bigger than like the max. Like the dream hand that Ice has is something like 2 sculptors and a puppeteer in his hosting party, and that will get him a max DC of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11. He'll get 11 DC with his dream hosting party. But if people go big and get cards like as soon as Nerd gets a royal like Jude, right, with 6 insight, like he just has to combine that with any of the cards he's already got, and he's going to be beating Nerd handily. Even when Nerd draws his best, Ice handily. Even when Ice gets his best stuff. I want to see what it should be time to resolve Nerd's visit. I don't know why they're not resolving Nerd's visit, because Nerd's going to be the one that gets to do the big, exciting royal purchase.
Sure, they're not discussing how big it is right now. That everybody can't believe the size of this move.
Can't believe the size. So
got all a bunch of fingers over there. Let's put it that way.
So he's visiting Jeff, who has a strong hosting party, but not strong enough because he's got a traveling bard that can shut down one of them. He's got a seamstress, which is banishing a pawn, and now he's going to buy a royal. He's got 2, 5, 8, 11 devotion to spend, and 2 sacrifices. I'm going to turn all this overlay off again. So he can buy any of the non-4 cost things. So he could buy those 3 that cost 1 that we were looking at, but he could also buy 8 the Weaver.
There we go.
He's going with 10 Goth. That's what I would do too. I don't know. I think I would still have gone Diva if I was him, but he's gone 10 Goth, which is just a strong card. Look at all the cards, all the hands hovering over it. So this is just, it's an okay card, right? 3/4/3, that's about as strong as like the Angler, which only costs 5 as a pawn. But the strength of the 10 Goth is that you get to banish 3 cards from your deck and or discard zone right away, as soon as you buy them. So Nerd has 3 less starter cards in his deck now that he won't draw ever again. So he's got a nice trim deck. I have to turn F11 on again to see how many cards. 1, 12. He's got 13 total cards in his deck, and you start with 12. So, so after this many rounds and this many purchases, his deck is just stacked. We're going to see it soon, right, when he shuffles. He's supposed to shuffle now. he's supposed to shuffle when he buys it, but it's no big deal. Oh, he is. He's just they're doing the reset. So that was round 8 that we just finished. Round 8 is a little late for the first royal to be purchased, but there you have it. Now they're resetting intents. So now we get to see how many sacrifices or secrets everyone has stolen. Okay. So Drakau has stolen 3 secrets. Jeff has stolen 2 secrets. Nerd has, I keep calling him. Ice has stolen 0 secrets, so he is not trying to go win by secrets. And Nerd has stolen 1. So Drakau is trying to win by secrets. In order for him to win by secrets, what he's got to do is put all of his strength into a visiting party and decide to visit someone that he thinks is going to have really low deceit. So he's going to try to, I think... no one's really got low deceit, actually. Everyone's kind of got a pretty healthy deceit value in their deck. So it's going to be hard for Drakau. But I guess he might try... I think Jeff might be the weakest link here, so he might try to put all of his strength and visit Jeff to get his secrets. Meanwhile, the other players that aren't going for secrets want to put all their strength on their visiting party and visit someone strong. Because they're not trying to... They don't need to steal secrets, so they're not trying to win big on visiting. They just want to further their game plan and win on hosting.
At this stage, whose cards or deck would you want now at this stage in the game?
Nerds for sure. From the beginning, I've been on Nerd's side, mostly because we're looking at his board straight on, but also because he's doing the strategy that I like to do, which is just buy good stuff. Don't worry about synergy. Just buy these big, beastly 4 deceit people, this herald that just flips the top card of your deck right into the party. Just do that. And then he's the one that's got the royal too, so he's got a nice trim deck. That said, this game, I think instead of going to the typical 6 secrets or sacrifices that a normal game would, in order to try to fit our broadcast into 1 hour, I believe we're only... I don't know what the players decided, but I think they're only going to 5. In which case, Ice has a pretty good shot, right? He just needs 2 more sacrifices, and he's playing the mid-game deck, which is going to... He just needs to sneak 2 more sacrifices somewhere, somehow. If the game goes to the full 6... Yeah.
So they're going to all 6? Did you say?
No, I'm not sure, actually. Let me...
Now you think this is between Ice and Nerd?
I think it's between... Yeah, I think if they're going to 5, I think Ice has an edge. If they're going to 6, I think Nerd has an edge. I'm not positive. Hopefully maybe one of them will pop into the chat or something. I can ask them on Discord what they decided to go to. Nothing there.
Looks like we're averaging 6 to 7 minutes a round.
Okay, yeah.
What's a typical game time for a game? I know it's going to vary between 2, 3, and 4 players probably, but are you seeing as a typical play time for the game?
Yeah. So I've kind of put it at 45 to 90 minutes. In a 4-player game, you're going to be more commonly getting a 90-minute game. In a 2-player game, 45 might even be long. Like when I play with my wife, who is my master playtester / person I forced to play this way too much. When I play with my wife, we play games in 20 minutes. They're done in 20 minutes. But I don't think that's usual. Like we just play real fast.
Right. And also, you guys are familiar with the game.
Yeah, exactly.
And familiar with each other. So
yep.
You got 2 big things working for you there. As other players get more familiar with the game and then familiar with their opponents, I'm sure they'll get games going quickly too.
Right. Just how Ice forces the mortal deck whenever he can. My wife is a big Abyssal player. She'll always try to force the Abyssals if she can. Oh, hi, Giga. I didn't see you in the Twitch chat. Hello. Is this supposed to be listed as episode 2? No, it is not. It's supposed to be listed as episode 3. I have mistyped that. Dominion from 2008, 14 years. I was pretty close. I said more than 12, so I was like I'm good.
If it was Price of Right, you'd have been good
Yeah.
right there.
Giga
Maybe even
says
double showcase winner.
nerf puppeteer. I think yes. Oh, instead of buffing the Royals, nerf puppeteer. If Ice wins, I'm just gonna nerf something. I think the other thing that is top secret, but I'll tell you guys because no one's watching anyway.
Breaking news here on
Yeah.
the IGL studio.
Well, I'm such a child that I've already designed the expansion of this game. I've not played it with anyone nor built it, but the expansion will be very mortal focused. It'll be called like something like Primal Secrets, Clay and Dust, or something like that, and it'll be about the time of mortals. So if the mortals are too strong in this first set, then they're going to be way too strong when the expansion comes out. So that's one thing I'm looking at is if they are... I want them to have a win rate that is maybe slightly below other strategies win rates in this set so that they can kind of catch up when the expansion comes around.
Ice Shine might be a nice name for the expansion set.
Yeah, the expansion, just Ice's set, yeah. So, there you have it. Breaking news.
And so as far as what are the contents of the expansion set, since it's already designed, what would coming inside of something like that?
I have it all designed. I don't think I'm quite ready to say in public yet, announce the whole thing. Let's one thing at a time, right? Let's get this to Kickstarter, this first set, and then talk about the expansion. I'm excited about the expansion, though. There's some mechanics that I really like that am considering pulling forward, but I don't know if I'm going to.
Well, an amount of cards. Are we talking 100 cards, 50 cards?
Oh, yeah. It would be... what is the numbers? 45 pawns, so exactly half the number of pawns from this base set. But 20 new royals, so like almost doubling the amount of royals. Plus a couple other things that come in the box. So,
all right, we won't get into that.
Yeah.
We're looking at 60 to 70 cards right there.
Yeah.
That would get us close to 300, I think, if we add
if we add that in. Yeah, I know. I'm definitely ahead of myself, though. At first, I got to get this game out, but I don't know. I had some good ideas one night.
Since the mortals are the focus of would be a first expansion, are there thoughts for future expansions after that? And
yes, so I mean, totally. So this is a story of the insignificance of the universe as we know it as mere mortals, and how as humans we are all just dust in the wind. Life is meaningless, and everything we do doesn't matter. So you're welcome for everyone's existential dread that has just come upon you. So the third expansion the third set would probably be something like Return to the Void, right? Which the time of man has come and gone. It's now no mortals, back to these creatures, and they were like, well, that was fun. What's next? I don't know, something like that. Haven't thought that far ahead. But definitely want to hit home that point that like these are godlike creatures, and they are so far beyond our three-dimensional brains that who even knows what's happening.
Eventually, they're going to do a little dusting.
Yeah, exactly.
The end of us,
yeah, exactly. Right? That's it, right? A little dusting, and mortals are gone.
We get some new creature
you
can play with.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get back on the focus of the game.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so
lost. Let's get caught up. Where's Ice looking in his pursuit of victory there? We still had 3 sacrifices? Or
so Nerd is taking the lead. He has stolen another secret. I hate that I have to turn the overlay on to count. So he's got 3 in his discard pile, 4. I don't know where he's hiding the rest of his... Oh, there's the rest. So 3, 4, 7... Okay, so he only has 2 secrets, but he's got one this turn, and he just got Lugain. Oh, he has 4 sacrifices, so he's only 1 away, and he has Lugain. Lugain is bananas. Bananas. When he visits with Lugain, he just automatically gets to gain a sacrifice. So if they're playing to 5, Now Nerd is just going to win for sure. Next time he draws Lugain, he just wins outright. If
How many does Ice have? Has Ice found his fourth yet?
He does have his fourth. Oh my gosh, this game is tight. I believe they're going to 5. And in which case, the race is on. Nerd just has to win his 5th sacrifice before Nerd can draw Lugain again. Here's Lugain for anyone who's curious. One of the best cards in the game. Just costs 4 sacrifices, so you already have to be almost winning. But now that he's got Lugain, all he has to do is draw him again. In a typical game, when you're going to 6, you have to draw him twice in order to just auto win. In a game going to 5, he did the work of getting to 4 sacrifices in the first place. Now he just has to draw Lugain once again and play him.
Nerd has a very small deck to draw from, I think.
There actually is a counter to Lugain in play, though. If someone can get 8 the Weaver and happen to line it up so that you have 8 in your hosting party when Nerd visits you with Lugain, Nerd doesn't get the sacrifice, you get the sacrifice. So, oh snap! And Drakau got him. Drakau. Okay, so now Nerd has a weak spot. Nerd cannot visit Drakau when he has Lugain, or he's going to be in trouble. So obviously, if I was in Nerd's position, I would just decide, all right, I'm going to point my finger at someone else when I've got Lugain. But
when you give somebody else the finger.
Yes, but Drakau has an answer to that too. Oh no, he doesn't have the right one. He's got invitations, right? So he can force people in certain directions to visit him. So he's got an invitation to invite Ice, and he's got an invitation to Jeff, but not to Nerd. So he's got the answer, he's got half of the answer, but he doesn't have the full answer.
There we go.
Yes,
Just
that
answer
is,
the question.
yes. Let me tell them. 8 is one of only 2 answers to Lugain.
This is why you gotta watch IGL Studio. Where else are you gonna get this kind of...
Yeah.
have a question about the game, and the designer chimes in with the answer.
That's right. That's why it's fun. I love playing like kind of indie small games, especially with all the designers that we're playing every week. Like, there's some. I mean, nothing's as good as Primordial Secrets, obviously, but no, there's some great games on our stream, and getting to play it with the actual designer is awesome.
And a lot of different games.
Yes.
Although we have featured a deck builder kind of thing.
Two in a row. Yeah, I know. We gotta
I think
do.
that's going to change next week.
Yes.
So we'll come up with something different.
Man, everyone's buying some really strong cards.
We should invite anybody that is a designer out there working on their own game.
Yeah, exactly.
Join up on the Discord channel, and
Please.
We'll get your game on here.
Please. Succubus. Jeff just bought a Succubus. Another non-versatile card. It's just a really good host. He's got... Jeff... Does Jeff have a chance to steal the game? No, not really. He's only got 2 sacrifices.
What's Drac looking like? He's only got a couple sacrifices.
He's got 3 secrets. So he's got to win by secrets. And meanwhile, he doesn't really have a shot either. I think, I mean, if he can fade... The problem is that Lugain is not going to get buried too deep in a deck, because Nerd has combined Lugain with the other Royal that thins his deck. So as soon as he shuffles, which is not this turn, he's not shuffling this turn, so they're safe from Lugain this turn, but as soon as he shuffles, there's a really good shot that Lugain's coming right away. So I think this turn, Nerd's not going to end it, and Ice needs to end it this turn. And can he?
If you're Nerd, you know you're theoretically one move away. What's his best defense now to make sure he gets to that one turn?
He wants to invite Jeff or Drakau to visit him in case they were trying to visit Ice. He doesn't have an invitation. Darn, he doesn't do that. Okay, so he doesn't do that. He just has to hope that Jeff and Drakau don't visit ice. And I'm not sure. Let's see.
Gonna find out here in a second.
Yeah, we're gonna find out. I can see what Drakau is working with, and he could visit ice. He could visit Jeff, and he could visit no one. I'm not sure what Jeff is working with.
Nerd's going to Jeff, yes?
Yeah, Nerd's going to Jeff because the other option was to go to ice, and he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to.
What's Jeff doing?
Jeff, we don't know yet. Oh, he's doing his typical strategy of drawing all weak cards and skipping his turn. I feel like Jeff is doing smart stuff. It's just like he's not drawing the right. Like every time I look at Jeff's board, it's all just white cards. Like where's his good stuff that he's buying?
What we're waiting on here is Drax's decision on where he's going, right?
Yeah. He doesn't really have an out to win, but he might.
Can affect what Nerd's plan is, and he's going to ice.
He's going to ice. This ice could end it here because someone's visiting him. And if ice does not win this turn, Nerd has a 50-50 shot of just auto-winning next turn. About 50-50. He's got 14 cards.
How many is he drawing?
6. So. Oh, and one of them is not Lugain, so he's only drawing 5 fresh cards out of 13. He's got a 5 in 13 chance of winning on the next turn.
Right around 40%.
Yeah. Oh, but if someone... No one's visiting him, so... Harold would have adjusted that math, but...
It's like, what? Is it Jeff's turn? They're playing with the pawn here. I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
This is round... Sorry, I keep turning the overlay on and off. Oh, wait, I can tell by looking at Drakau's hand. This is round... 8, 9, 10, 11. This is round 11. So it should be the person to the left of the person that was player first. I actually lost track of what that was too, so hopefully they've got it straightened out. Oh, they're doing the thing too. They're trying to figure it out.
We're all confused. At least we're all in the same boat.
Yes, at least we all don't know what's going on.
Sure, it's going to matter who goes first this turn, really. It's going to be a matter of who's going first, I guess maybe does. Because if Drax going first, he's going right into Ice Shine right now, right?
Yeah, I know. Well, so the game ends when someone gets their last secret or sacrifice, but you still play out the round because other players have a chance to tie it up. And the tiebreaker is the other win con, right? So if the game ends by 2 people having 5 secrets, 6 in a full game, then whoever has the most sacrifices among them will win. Ties are very unlikely. They don't happen. Actually, I take that back. I've had quite a few ties. And this is one of those games that could happen. Ice could get his 5th sacrifice at the exact same time that Nerd plays his Lugain. And then we're looking at the tiebreaker of secrets, and Ice has no secrets. So Ice needs to win before Lugain comes out.
Basically, Ice loses all tiebreakers is the way we would look at it.
Yeah,
right?
he does. He loses all tiebreakers. So
here we go.
Okay, Drakau has bought another very strong card. He's got 2 Illusionists in his deck. Drakau, if not for this royal advantage that Nerd has, I really like Drakau's deck. But Nerd has this massive countdown going on because he was the first one to be able to get to the royals. Drakau he's got some really strong cards though. Like Illusionist is a really versatile card.
Just be a case of too little, too late here.
Yeah, I think so. It's just too late. Yep. If we were going to 8, maybe Drakao could win. Please God, no, that would be a very long game.
I think we were just going past the hour marker about now.
Yeah, we
So,
are. Yeah, sorry to everyone that was only trying to watch for an hour. You're free to leave. Although I think this is, I
no,
think
you must stay. What are you talking about?
no, you're excused. No, I think I think we're on the last round or second to last round here.
I think we'll be done before the bottom of the hour here. Let's put it that way. In the next 19 minutes or so.
Well, if they, I mean, they should just play this round real quick and then just see if Nerd draws his Lugain or not, because there's nothing that can stop it.
Yeah. Well, we have ice to be reckoned with.
Yeah, but Ice is not winning this turn. He got visited by Drakao and did some shenanigans. His next turn is going to be, his next visiting party is going to be really stacked. But that doesn't matter at all if Nerd draws his Lugain next turn.
We got a little formalities here to finish up this round, and then
Yeah, and then let's see. Let's see. I don't know.
See what Nerd draws.
I think card counting is definitely a part of all deck builders because of the basic concept of, the discard pile becomes your draw pile, and it's almost even a worse offender in this particular deck builder because it matters so much what your opponent is doing. And I don't particularly love the card counting aspect of it, but I don't hate it either. It's like it's a feature that's there if you're a bunch of players that enjoy that part of the game of like really trying to figure out your probabilities. Right. Okay, here we go. Familiar was his last card. He's shuffling. He's pulling that discard pile forward. He's shuffling it, and he's drawing. There he is. Game over.
Is he in there?
Yep, he's in there.
Just make sure to make it official. I'll put it out there.
Okay.
The first card he put out there. There we go. Second card.
Okay. Actually, no, it's not going to happen. As this is round 12, he only has one intent left. Or, well, he has two intents left. He could either not visit, which would be very bad for him because then he would not win. Or he can visit Ice. So it's going to be... He's going to get to rub it in Ice's face that he has... he has Lugain. And Ice kind of has a dream hosting party, actually. Ice is going to have... enough? Is it going to be 5-5 with Nerd winning the tiebreaker?
It doesn't matter. Tiebreaker. Yeah, that's what we said.
Yep.
Just needed to win without the
and then another rub-ins over here on this side of the board. There's 8. Oops. I'm awful at moving this around. There it is. There's 8. So if only Nerd had to visit Drakao for some reason, this game would get weird.
It looks like we don't have to burn the rules or nerf anything.
Yeah.
Get a legitimate ending.
I mean, I like it when Royals win. I think so. Royals are powerful on purpose. Like, we don't want the game to just snowball out of control, but which I don't think it did. I think Ice had some outs. But I want players to be incentivized to go for those Royals because they should be taking over the game. Like, that's basically...
This has a little bit of splendor in it in that case. I mean, there's games of splendor where you don't get to the third tier, right? And it gets gummed up with terrible choices up there. Nobody can use them or nobody wants to use them. And then you're forced to fight it out with the little pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think we see a little
there are games
of another...
Yeah, there are games like this where just the wrong combination of pawns and royals comes out, and like no one can get a royal, or maybe you end the game with like one royal. And this is one of them, actually. The game is ending in a 4-player game. Only 3 royals being recruited is very low. I would expect at least every player to at least have 1 royal and one person to have like 3 or 4. So this was a low royal game. I mean, part of it was the fact that all these royals cost... There was so many royals that cost 4 sacrifices. Part of the fact...
Like I say, it's like Splendor when tier 3, they're all 15 gems or something instead of being 10.
Yeah.
You know? Nobody's going to pay 15 for any of them.
Yep.
What to do.
And part of the other thing is that we're playing the demo version where they're only going to 5. If we were going to 6, we might see a couple more royals getting recruited. Let's switch back over to our star and our winner, our champion.
He doesn't even know he's a champion yet, does he?
He should. As soon as they revealed, which they have already revealed to each other, he knows Lugain is
Enough to get it done.
Yeah, the one counter is on that side of the board, and he's going to this other side of the board. So I was happy to see Lugain and 8 in the same game. Sad that we didn't get to see the sweet counterplay, but
They come into the realization right now too. I see a lot of hands moving around.
yeah, I think so. I told the players to join us after the game, so I think what they might be doing now is just come into our room if you're doing a post-game chat, y'all. Don't just talk amongst yourselves. We want to hear too.
13 minutes before the bottom of the hour here.
Yeah.
So. Are they agreed that it's over?
I don't know. I can't hear them. I need to set it up. So normally we can hear. Normally, on a normal week, we'd be able to hear the player chat. This particular week, since I'm
my ugly mug.
Yeah, since I'm streaming and the designer this week, and because my day job has been crazy this week, and I didn't do some audio routing that I needed to, we cannot hear the players until they choose to come talk to us. So I'm just hoping that at some point they make their way over to us and talk about their experience.
Can we put a message inside of TTS? Come join us.
Oh yeah, I can do that. F11 again.
They look like they're actually drawing things still.
What are they doing?
For sure. We've got dead air here.
I know. Sorry, I'm just typing. Coming.
Here we go. We're getting an update as to what they're playing to.
Yeah.
They're playing to 5. We might be wrong.
Yeah, we're going to 5. Okay, so they're just doing the formalities of finishing it out. I see. Did I spoil it for them? Did no one look across the table and see this Lugain sitting here?
I can't believe Nerd didn't let him know. He's sitting there.
Okay, there's the 5th. Ding, ding, ding. That signals the game end. Of course, you do finish out the round to see if anyone ties. Did Ice end up tying? He did not.
It wouldn't have mattered. We already looked at the tiebreaker, right?
Yeah. So he does. I mean, he did have a dream hand, and if it wasn't for Lugain, he would have had a third familiar in that hosting party, and the sculptor would have pumped them all up, and it would have been bananas. Whatever, 7 deceit, and 7 would have been enough, but Lugain messes up everything. Eventually, the executioner visits us all. The art was darker before. We had to tone down the art because of triggers. But yeah, I love that card.
When are we? So now we're letting them do things. When are we expecting the Kickstarter, or do we have an idea?
Yeah. Now, I mean, I haven't announced it yet, but I will announce here that I will announce the launch date soon, because we have final prototypes coming in the mail currently. So they will be arriving soon. 5 copies. They will be going out to 4 influencers. That's kind of the last stage before the Kickstarter pops off, right? So I'm going to send those. I'm going to get four people to give me some basically previews, so I'll have some content for the Kickstarter, and so buyers can see that real people like this game, and then that's it. So yeah, it's just a matter of. I mean, we're on the home stretch. Is the bottom line.
We're talking probably in the spring. Is that? Can we go seasonal?
Yeah. Yes. I think so. Kind of I think so. So I'm not promising anything, but I believe April or May Probably May. Depends on a couple factors still, but yeah.
You promised to announce the announcement.
Yes, I will announce the announcement. All right, Drakau is disconnected. Are they going to join us? Oh, they're
Yes,
counting
sir.
up. They're counting up some stuff. Hello, welcome. That was
Hello.
Back.
Hello.
Hello.
that was exciting.
Yeah, I was not familiar we were playing until 5, and I was planning to go for the 6.
Oh
Well,
no,
we
we were discussing in the booth, Ice, that like if we were going to, since we were only going to 5, and you were playing kind of like the mid-range deck, like that you had kind of an advantage there.
Yeah, problem is I was having bad luck with the intentions. People were avoiding me when I had
Yes, yep.
most returns, which is usually what happens to me. What would I have got if I were to draw this hand?
I still can't believe that I have a pure deck.
Yeah. Let's see. Is anyone else on cam? You don't have to be. Oh no, no one is. Okay.
So why don't we get quick thoughts of?
Yeah. Anyone? I mean, I guess I have some questions. So, Jeff, I really like. Is Jeff here?
I'm here.
Yeah, Jeff is here.
Yes. I really liked seeing someone go for you had a chance to get what 2 or 3 secrets, and you just kept going for the skip turn secret.
Yes, I definitely got a couple of sacrifices from that,
Yeah, that's awesome.
and I was pretty happy because honestly, I think my deck was not that good, but I still ended up with 4 secrets and 4 sacrifices. So.
I think I don't know what happened over there, Jeff, but I thought I kept seeing you buy good cards, but then every time I looked at your side of the board, it was just all white bordered stuff. It's like, are you putting them in your discard pile and shuffling them in, or are you just throwing them away? I never saw the good cards. Yeah.
Well, the problem I think was also because I had several turns where I was just kind of sitting and letting people come to me. I didn't get to buy. So I actually didn't have as many cards as other people.
Yep.
But I was close because if he hadn't canceled that sacrifice in the last round, I would have gotten to 5.
Oh wow, really? Were you that close? Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize. Wow, nice.
4 sacrifices, 4 secrets.
Holy cow! I was almost writing you off. I guess we missed. I mean, I had F11 on, so I couldn't do the counts all the time. Last I looked, you were only at like 2 sacrifices. You must have gotten some at the last. Oh yeah, with that succubus. Nice. I'm gonna have to watch the replay. See how much I missed. But that's cool. That strategy is neat. Just like get enough of a deck put together and then just sit back and let people come to you.
Yeah, except then they tend to avoid you.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
So what?
I think everybody's played 2 or 3 players. Is this the first 4 player? Should we get is there any comments? How did it go? Is there anything we would tweak? I stunned the audience.
No, nothing. I think a few of you have played 4 player. Ice has.
I played a lot of 4 players actually.
Yeah.
I never played 4.
Okay, nice. And Drakau, this is only Drakau's second game. Drakau, I like. So you got the answer to Lugain, but you didn't have. It didn't look like you had the invitation to force.
He did.
Yeah.
He actually had the invitation. He could have forced me into him.
Oh, but you.
Oh yeah, I could have done. Oh yeah, I could have.
What was your last intention?
I did have the 4. I could have forced third.
You could have juked him. You even had the.
What would have I done? I don't understand what that would have done.
No, so that's the wrong invitation. So that invitation forces Ice to visit you, but what you needed to do was have an invitation that forces Nerd to visit you.
You had that. Yeah, I had that as well. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Yeah. Then.
Yeah.
So combine that. Well, so we had perfect information here in the booth, but we knew that Nerd had a 5 out of 13 chance or something like that to draw Lugain that turn. So basically, if you draw 8 and you had a way to force Nerd to visit you, you could have prolonged the game.
I see. That was over my head. I think I didn't realize.
I thought it was all going. I thought that was all part of your plan because you bought 1 counter to Lugain. I was like, okay.
By the way, the calculation's not totally correct. I have 2 heralds.
Oh yeah, right. So it's like even higher chance. So, yeah. But the other problem, I guess, was that was round 12, so Drakau was down to only 2 intent options, and I think that the invitation wasn't one of them. So he needed to basically. There was a lot of things needed to go his way in order for him to.
He only had invitations to Axum and to me.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
basically, yeah. I'd left and right. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So you needed to first get the. So you needed Lugain and 8 to not come out. You needed to steal a secret that let you invite Nerd that round, and then next round Lugain and 8 comes out, and you do that, and then so long shot, real long shot,
but I guess not a chance. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. No, I like that. So I mean, I think I was my money was on Nerd the whole time because he was the first to get royals, and he was Ice had the opportunity. Ice, you could have bought a royal way earlier. Why didn't you?
I was able to buy a royal way earlier. I was skeptical for the reason that the mortal deck usually needs a familiar continuously on the board to enable puppeteer and to make use of that momentum.
Mhm.
And when you lose that familiar from the board, usually the puppeteer deck starts to crumble so fast, and it kind of happened at some points that I was having some very ugly turns where I would have not been able to do anything. So I just straight up went to sacrifice and give Nerd and Axum. I gave one trophy to each one, just to make sure that I clear up and get some momentum going. And that was the very bad issue that I had. Besides, the royals that were in here were not exactly what would have helped me the most. Maybe Thank God would have helped me, but
Yeah.
I kind of was not paying attention to him
Yeah.
much due to.
So
the
yeah,
fact
here in
that
the
he was
booth,
this
we were betting against you choosing to get a royal. Hi, I'm a lazy fox. Welcome.
You needed that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. There's some mortal strategies.
I needed Emok so badly.
Yeah.
Emok is just the card that makes the mortal deck be invincible.
Yep.
Like it makes it so strong.
But we got a little bit. It was a kind of a royal light game. It seemed there was 3 royals and 4 royals ended up getting into people's decks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not so bad. It's just and I think a part of the problem was that there was all 3 mortals that required 4 sacrifices. There's only 3 mortals that require 4 sacrifices in the whole deck. And they were all in the first 7 cards. So, yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for joining us to all the viewers, and thanks to the players.
And we'll be back again next week.
Yeah.
With a new game.
Garth, when is Primordial Secrets going up on Kickstarter? Do we have a date yet?
We don't have an official announcement yet, but I will. I was just telling Joe that I will announce here that we will announce a date soon.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing like announcing an announcement.
Yeah.
But we're good out here at IGL Studios.
That's
Breaking
right.
no news.
Yeah.
Hey Garth, where are we going to have a tournament for Primordial Secrets online?
Oh, a tournament? Yeah, we could do that. I mean,
It'll come right after the Pyre tournament.
Yeah, exactly. No,
Yes.
Totally. Pyre tournament coming up soon. I'm pumped about that.
Yeah, it starts next week.
Yeah, let's go.
Nice.
Are you signing up, Ice?
No, I know I'm not yet.
No.
I haven't got the time.
Yeah.
I should probably.
Hey, fellas, I think that's going to do it for today.
Great.
Thank you again for playing, and we'll see you again next week in the studio with a new game.
All right, see you next
Have
week.
a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
Till then.
Bye.